A genius at work. World snooker champion, John Higgins.
Welcome to Snooker Live. This is our first instalment. You can join us twice daily here on our YouTube channel. The World Championship in association with Dafabet is up and running. Ronnie O'Sullivan is on the table against Robin Hull. What a story for Robin Hull even to be here. The man who retired back in 2007, 2008 has come back to form and fitness. The rocket got off to a lightning quick start, as you'd expect, but Robin did take a frame on either side of the interval and he's still battling hard. Stuart Bingham and Ken Doherty going toe-to-toe on the other table. Ken kissed the carpet when he came out at the Crucible. So that action is going on live on the BBC, but for our first instalment here on the YouTube channel, we've been joined by the gaffer, Barry Hearn. Barry, happy to see the championship up and running in fine fettle again?
Well, it's always that time of year, the tingle starts in your spine. You remember the great days, you remember my whole youth seemed to be here backstage, and it's no different. The day you arrive, you just know it's something special.
And it almost wouldn't be the same if it wasn't in Sheffield, would it?
No, there's no question about it. It's the home. It's a bit like saying, is tennis, you know, should we have tennis at Wimbledon? You know, the answer is history you can't invent. You know, it's earned. The merit of the place is it's become part and parcel of the history of the whole sport. Now, you know, we've been going since 1927, and we haven't been going that long at the Crucible, but it's very, very tough to think that this wonderful tournament could take place anywhere else.
And you can understand journalists making a lot of stories. For instance, Mark Selby, as part of a wider interview, said he could see the World Championship going to China. You can understand the journos following those lines up, but there's nothing in those, is there?
Well, no, but you can never say never on anything in life. I mean, I've always made it quite clear I want to stay here forever, certainly my lifetime. I think the place is synonymous with snooker because of lots of different reasons. The two fundamental reasons we're here, let's not lose track of this, is the wonderful coverage we get on the BBC, number one, and the fantastic support we get from the people of Sheffield, and in particular the Sheffield City Council. Now, while those two allies, and I believe they are long-term friends, stay loyal to us, I think we owe it to stay loyal to them. Now, who's to say what happens in another generation? There's no question that the people in China would pay a king's ransom to get the World Championships in China. And for once, I'm not looking at the balance sheet. I'm looking at the history. So I'm staying. But it is subject to those two people's support. And I'm quite sure over the next few months that we will announce a new long-term deal with Sheffield to make sure that this great tournament carries on here and does what it does, which is fundamentally to change the title of Sheffield from the City of Steel to the City of Snooker. And I think that says it all.
Well, you've heard it here first, so watch out for the announcement from Barry Hearn. Now, Barry is a prolific tweeter. @Barry Hearn is his hashtag. If you want to get in touch with Barry, send him a tweet. And Barry, interesting, yesterday you sparked a little bit of Twitter debate because your great friend, the amazing ambassador for snooker, Steve Davis, doesn't have a place at the moment, and you're unsure. You're kind of stepping back from voting yourself because you are such good mates and you've got such history with Steve. You're not sure whether Steve should be given a wild card. Where are we in that debate, and what was the result of your Twitter question that you put out there?
I have to tell you, you know, I do a lot on Twitter because I do find that sometimes I could lose track with the views of fans and people that are interested in our game, and it's a great medium to actually test the water. So I was fishing, and I thought I'd send out a tweet saying, look, what do you think? Let me know. It doesn't mean to say I'm going to take notice of anyone, but what it does mean is it means I listen to everyone. And of course, my Twitter imploded, and about 70, I think I recorded every single effective vote, and 77% were in favour. It wasn't just Davis, it was Davis and Hendry. And my conflict with this is that I believe that snooker is a meritocracy. I've made it quite clear, it's all about results. But every now and again, I mustn't be intransigent to the point of not listening. And I want to hear people's views. And today, I've had my board of directors here to listen to their views. And we're going to continue discussing it and considering whether the game, firstly, is a loser by not still having two legends like Hendry and Davis. And this is not to open the doors as a precedent for everyone who loses a tour card. It's very specific on absolute legends.
Well, a 7- and 6-time world champion respectively.
It does help. But you know, also, I was looking at Jimmy White's situation and saying, Jimmy never won the World Championship, but actually was as instrumental in some ways as Davis and Hendry to where snooker is. And the question I asked my directors today is, do we owe these people? Does the game owe these people? That's the question I really want to know. Now, that's not to say that they're going to ever be winning anything. They're getting older. They're not playing as well as they used to, of course. But do we owe them the right? And what's the downside? So this is a conversation that's going on. We're not going to... What harm does it do, is my first question. I'm not talking about harm to me looking silly, changing my mind. I don't care about that. What I care about is other people not having the opportunity they would have had. If we are looking at legends being invited in to top up fields once the entries are closed, so that everyone's had their chance to play, I can't see at this moment in time any harm in that. If we were saying someone was losing an opportunity because of that, I can. And I think that Davis summed it up the other day, and he turned around and he made a decision. He's not entering Q School. The reason being, he says snooker's a hobby for me. I've been a great player, I've been a great ambassador, and I've had a wonderful time, and it's changed my life. But I am not going to get into Q School to take away the chance of a young player earning his right to make a living from snooker. And I think that's the attitude that we both got at the moment. There's lots more thought to go about it. I'm having sleepless nights over it. But at the same time, if I look myself in the mirror this is my 40th year of promoting snooker. My first snooker event was 1974, which was the Southern Area Championships between Sid Hood and Terry Griffiths. So I know what I'm talking about, and I know the debt I owe the sport. I'm questioning what debt does the sport owe the Hendrys, the Davises, and possibly
the Jimmy Whites.
Yes.
So just finally then, you've clarified that as to where we are now. What's the time scale here? When can we expect a definitive decision?
I'm going to make sure that I have a press conference booked on Wednesday. I think Ivan's arranging that at 2 o'clock. And at that time, we will be releasing a lot of information that will get you going.
Oh, you're teasing us now.
I'm
Come
going
on.
to tease you because I'm also going to discuss changing formats for next year's World Snooker Championships.
Ah,
so
wow.
We're going to have a big day next Wednesday, and by Wednesday we're going to make up our mind, I hope, about the construction of the tour and Davis-Hendry resolution, dissolution, or abdication. I don't know. But there's going to be some very interesting things, as there always is around snooker, because it's a changing formats, it's changing global approach. There are also some very good news coming from other broadcasters. I think most of the players are going to be very happy. Some of them may not be so happy. We'll have to watch this space.
Well, so Barry Hearn's press conference on Wednesday will be hotly anticipated. You've teased us, as you always do,
Absolutely.
Barry. So thank you very much to you for now. Ivan, well, first of all, news about the World Championship. So could we potentially, and I wonder what ramifications there'd be, and certainly among the players, could we be looking at re-evaluating going to the flat 128 for the Worlds?
Well, we'll have to wait until next week to find out. But yeah, I mean, it is a changing world of snooker. Within the last 4 or 5 years, what's happened to the sport is incredible. When you look, when you go back and see since.
Thanks very much, Barry. Sorry, Barry Hearn has to dash off for another meeting. Thanks, Barry. Sorry, I can carry on.
Since Barry took control of snooker, the way the sport has exploded globally is extraordinary. And I think he's always looking to change things, always looking to the future, and not resting on laurels, which is a great way to be.
Well, certainly that is going to be hot news on Wednesday if that does come up for discussion. We said right at the beginning that Ronnie O'Sullivan is in action against Robin Hull. Before we just talk about that one, our last score update we had, of course, this is happening live whilst we're on air. The last update we had was 5-2, Robin taking frames on either side of the interval. But obviously he's starting that as the overwhelming underdog, if you like, 122 in the world against the defending champion. But an amazing story for him even to be A, playing the sport again, and B, beating the likes of Ebden to be on this big stage taking on O'Sullivan.
Yeah, amazing story. I mean, I remember going back probably about 12 or 13 years. What a fantastic player Robin was then. Great break builder. Was one season when I think he won 20 or more matches in the qualifying rounds, got to the venues. I remember him beating Mark Williams and getting to the quarterfinals of the Welsh Open. And then it was obviously played at the Crucible in 2002. And then it was just so unfortunate what happened to him. I think it started with an ear infection, something seemingly very innocuous. Went to the doctors and it just escalated from there, and he had this horrendous when he was kind of bedridden for 6 months at a time. He couldn't walk, he had a club foot. Neil Goulding, one of the journalists, has done a really good article with him in the Independent today, which kind of details what Robin had been through. And obviously completely destroyed his snooker career, almost destroyed his life. He was forced to retire from snooker in 2008. And yeah, so it's just a great story that he's been able to come back. He won the European Championship amateur event in Poland, got on the main tour. Even this season, he's not played in that many events. Obviously, I think he's 39 now. He's not the player he used to be. He's struggled financially. I was talking to his dad the other day, and his dad was telling me he eats biscuits for dinner. That's how much he's kind of struggled. But so for this event already, he's won £12,000. Just for qualifying, won 4 matches in the qualifiers. So that's a great amount of money for him. So it's just great to see him playing on the big stage again.
It certainly is.
But I mean, you never know. You look at some of the players he's lost to this season in big tournaments. Stuart Bingham beat him in the UK Championship. Yang Wenbo at the International Championship. Yu Delu, number 48, I think, in the world, beat him in Preston last month. He's beatable. If the players can bring their best game and not be intimidated, then who knows.
Well, quite, and as you say, there have been upsets here at the Crucible before. That's why it's such an intriguing tournament to watch, and it's a long 17 days. So Ronnie's in action, so too Stuart Bingham and Ken Doherty. You can be watching that live on the BBC right now. And then coming up in a little while, we've got the new slimline, the svelte version of Sean Murphy up against Jamie Cope. And it's good to see Jamie back on this stage because he's been in the top 16 before. He's a multiple ranking event finalist. Although Sean would be the favourite for that one, having won the World Open in fine style, his first ranking event for a couple of years, I think, maybe since Dublin in 11. That's a great chance for Jamie Cope.
Yeah, again, another really good story, and another player who suffered from health problems in recent years. He's had what's called an essential tremor, which is a hereditary thing which causes his hands to shake, and has really, again, affected his career. I mean, I remember back in 2006-07, he got to the Grand Prix final against Neil Robertson, and at the time they looked like the two next big things, and obviously Neil has gone on to become world number 1. Jamie also got to the China Open that final that season. Made a couple of official 147s. Again, tremendous talent, tremendous break builder. I remember a match he played against John Higgins here in 2009 when I think he was 12-10 up and ended up losing 13-12. And again has had these problems in recent years. But we were speaking to him at the qualifiers the other night when he got through, beat Mark King in the final qualifying round, and he was saying he's been seeing a sports psychologist in recent months because they're not sure whether the condition he's had is like a psychosomatic thing, that it's a combination of a biological and a mental thing, but he's obviously had a lot of help from the psychologist, and looks like he's getting back towards the form that he was showing, all those years ago. So hopefully Jamie can really enjoy the big stage here and give Sean a good game.
Well, that will certainly be what the punters want. The other match starting at 2:30. We have Stephen Maguire against Ryan Day. Ryan has climbed 11 places in the rankings this year. Started at 31. He's now back inside the top 20. And Stephen Maguire won last season's Welsh Open, 5 times a ranking event winner. He's been to the semis twice here at the World Championship. And he launches his campaign at 2:30 live on the BBC. One quick score update for you before we go. Ronnie has gone 7-2 up against Robin, and the match against Stuart Bingham and Ken Doherty, 4-3 to Stuart. So Ken, the oldest man in the World Championship since Steve Davis's amazing run to the quarterfinals in 2010. Ken Doherty is making a great fist of that one. We'll be here twice a day on the YouTube channel, 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock, barring disasters. The headlines from this session is, watch out for Barry Hearn's press conference on Wednesday. Some major announcements coming, and that when we've barely got to the first session of snooker on the opening day. Plenty more drama to come. Thanks for joining us.
Genius at work. World snooker champion John Higgins.